All right, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, day number 318. All right, there are no updates today on the anticipated renovation appeal. There is still at least one sponsored block type in the online store, I believe. I haven't checked. The next long form video, I recorded some, or was it yesterday or the day before? So I have some video recorded for another long form, but I've not been able to publish it yet. Today I mostly worked on some errands and other stuff. And I also published a really simple shorts video, which ironically it's a number 1 out of 10, and it's getting like twice as many views as anything. I put almost no work into this video, but it's better than all the previous 10. The real Sherty says, good evening. How's it going? Okay, today we will continue with work on the terminal block mining simulation game. Yesterday, I accomplished basically nothing. Let's make sure it still works. So I'm still working on the pesky unit tests for the chunk loading and unloading. I guess I'm kind of mentally blocked on figuring out exactly how to do the unit test right, because it's going to have to it should synchronize with the actual test, or with the in-memory chunks thread, because there's going to be 2 threads present. No, that's not even the right test. Run in-memory chunks test. Okay, it passed. So I guess maybe this. Maybe this should set a set of expected events to see, and then this thing will have a method like this that just spins until it sees the expected events. That might work. Because time changed. I forgot which part of Canada is not changing time this year. Don't think it's where you are though. I think it did, but I remember last night. I stayed up kind of late, and then sometimes I end up just like browsing the internet until like 2, and it was just I thought it was just after 2, and then I looked at the time, and it was like 3:20 a.m. I'm like, wow, what was I doing for an hour? And then I thought, oh, maybe the time changed. So I think it changed here last night, but I don't even remember. I think in BC they voted to like stop doing time changes or something. But I know it's just always, we're always going to have confusion. And then years from now, computer programs, when they go back in time and try to calculate like time differences between timestamps, the programmers are going to have to remember every time we change the rule, we have to add more data. Some giant table somewhere about how the times changed, and honestly, time is such a crazy thing. So many exceptions. Like I think there's some years that just officially don't exist, like in the year 1300s or something, or like certain months just arbitrarily had less days in them. How do I make a CPU? Oh, that's easy. First, you get a rock. Then you smash the rock. Now you've got 98% concentrated silicon dioxide. And then you can purify it to 99.999999% silicon dioxide. And there's some other steps too, but I made a video on that. So maybe someone is keeping an official time change ledger. I hope so. Maybe this should actually I think I need 2 of these methods. can't decide. I can't decide what I want to test. I guess maybe I'll break it into different methods. What are you coding? I'm coding. The overall project is a terminal-based video game, and there's some links in the description that talk about the terminal block mining game. It shows some images, and there's also a GitHub. The specific thing I'm working on right now is unit tests for the chunk loading and unloading model. Wealthy 37-year-old winner. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that I think you think so highly of me. Hello, I'm an affluent Scratch developer. Do you know any companies that are looking to hire cracked Scratch programmers in rural Kentucky? Scratch, is that was that the language, the visual programming language? I'm drawing a blank right now. Unfortunately, I do not know of anyone hiring Scratch programmers. Do you know? Did you know G question mark does rot 13 cipher on the current line in Vim? Oh, the keyboard. Keyboard combination. Let's see. G. Oh, wow. You're right. Huh. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for that. That's a useful tip. I should make that into a shorts. Yeah, I'm new. What are you doing now? I'm currently working on the overall project is a terminal-based video game, and there's some links in the description that talk about the terminal block binding game. And the specific thing I'm working on now is some unit tests to improve a chunk loading and unloading module. as I move around the world, it loads and unloads chunks of space. Nice job, brother. Good luck. Thank you. Is it not running the test? Test run 0. That's not right. There we go. Did a $10 and a $10 super chat. Guess who's back? Back again. Yes, unfortunately it doesn't show your username, but I recognize the icon. I think you were here a couple nights ago, and you mentioned how to make a CPU video, and I think you gave 3 super chats the other night. Thank you very much. Was here last night talking about Pixel and Flash. Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that. There's a lot that happened in the last 300 live streams. I've had so many conversations that I forgot about. Just came out of work, doing some college work right now. Just wanted to come in and say hi. Thank you. That's a very welcome way to say hi. Anytime. Have a good stream. You as well. Okay, interesting. Oh, that's the opposite case. So do I understand correctly? This unit test is just to make sure that the chunk loading and unloading works as intended. Yes. So the arc of development is I want to get multiplayer working. I guess I can actually show. I'll demo the broken case. So I want to eventually get multiplayer working. To get multiplayer working, it makes sense to be able to have like eventually when full multiplayer is working, the client side is going to have to know something about like the player ID or some, I'm calling it the authorized client ID number. That's going to uniquely determine the player. And the client's going to have to know about that and keep track of it in the memory model. So I'm going to make it support, which also opens up a lot of other windows, other avenues. I want to make it support having like a player map area, or even any of these frames, like the inventory or whatever, will all be associated with a player ID. So if I go into, let's see, this is connected to temp. Yeah, we'll try to create a second connection to that. Okay. So for now, I'm just assuming there's no login server, so it's like right after you logged in. So we're going to simulate the process of like we're going to connect to the same world, but with the second player. So this is like a split 2-player. Like if you imagine like playing with 2 players at once. So if I do submit and nothing happens, and now if I do submit again, there we go. It's saying identical subscription. Yeah, it's trying to use client ID 0. That's also, so there's another bug there. But anyway, the idea is I want to be able to have 2 connections to the same world from different players. And right now the memory chunk loading model is only designed to work with 1 player. So there's no, within the chunk loading model, there's no concept associated with which player has loaded that chunk in the data structure. Now it's not too difficult to add that, but this chunk loading class, it also, like for example, if I run it again, as the game loads, like as the window opens up, you'll notice the those question mark characters. So it'll load here in a second. There we go. So watch the question marks. So there's no chunks. Now all the chunks load going out from the player. So if I move around, or even if I make that a bit smaller, and go up here, you can see the chunks are loading. Like the thing that is keeping track of those chunks and dispatching their request to the server, and also there's like a callback. So when the chunk actually gets populated, there's a callback to the like user interface that says, hey, you need to update the state of that chunk within what you're displaying right now. And so, for the various state changes, there's a couple different events that get sent, and then also every client has like a top level. So it just tells the chunk loading module what regions of space it needs to have loaded into memory, and then the chunk loading thing just does it. And it also keeps track of the fact that the player might want to load arbitrary, like small regions of space, but the chunk loading module figures it out into chunk boundaries so that the server can just like take a specific contiguous regions of space, instead of just having like say one narrow long region of space. And also the existing chunk loading class has a bug in it, which I kind of just worked around. And so before I start refactoring to try to fix the bug, I'd like to just have a couple unit tests, because it's been something I've needed unit tests for a long time. But now that I'm going to make it more complicated, then I figure I should just take the hit now and make a unit test for it. Sounds like you should have brought some tea along. I got some tea right here. I'm prepared. Okay. So we have a test failure. It says so it's near the start, and it's getting a notification that this chunk has become pending, but it did not expect that. Thank you for explaining. This may help me with an old project. Been dreading to continue work on. Yeah, it's I'm not sure if my code will necessarily well, I don't know. It might give you some ideas. I guess it's given that I'm making it work with multiple clients. That's kind of making it much more complicated. But for this project, it's specifically necessary because the world is infinite. So if you try to you cannot load infinite. You can't load all the chunks at once because there's an infinite number of them. You run out of memory. And also, even if you load a lot of them, you got to be able to free them up. Otherwise, you'll leak memory and it'll just get slower and slower and crash. Okay, that's on test 7. Interesting. So it needed that chunk became pending. Oh, maybe that's because it's already loaded. My unit, if that's the case, then my unit test was actually useful. Good night. Hope all is well. Unit tests aren't useful until they save your life. In my experience. Yeah, unit tests are in my work, I tend to use unit tests almost like as a pivot. I find they're really great. Like if you write some really crazy unit tests that are really general, almost like fuzz tests, it allows you to do very, very aggressive refactoring. What may help me is the idea of writing a test to check functionality of some of its features to make sure I'm not missing some issue. It's causing my problems. Yeah, I think unit tests are also sometimes it can almost be overwhelming to figure out how to write the unit test. And then often I find even if you just make the simplest start with a unit test that's totally inadequate. Make it one that almost tests like nothing. Like if you have some, I don't know, well, it's hard to come up with an arbitrary example, but you can just test like the simplest base case and then run it against your code. And then sometimes you'll find that like the simplest one-line unit test, your code won't even pass that. And then when you go and fix your code, you'll think like, oh, I should add a test. I should add a check for this and that. And you can almost use like, you can use the unit tests and the code as like a pivot. You can use them to pivot off of each other, where you look at the unit tests. The unit test is like a mirror of the code itself. And when you're looking at the code, you can think about it and be like, you know what? I bet my unit test, I bet if I can put a bug in my code that the unit test doesn't cover. And then if you can articulate that, then you can think about what to add to the unit test. I think you just keep going back and forth. And then when you add more of these checks, then you find out you put in an innocuous check, and then you run it and it fails, and you're like, oh, that was a bug I didn't know I had. Okay, did that do anything? Great way to change perspective. Yeah, I think I've actually even heard that in some of these like super crazy agentic AI programming things, they say that they say that having good unit tests, like if you have really good unit tests, that's what allows you to kind of grow your program. So I guess in theory, if your unit tests are good enough, you should be able to completely reconstruct a perfect program. Just throw it into an AI and then just tell the AI figure it out. Like just infinitely try to fix this thing until the unit test passes. And then if it never comes back, you can just ignore it. Interesting. Now it's failing even earlier. Okay, test 2. You got the signal. On test 3, everything was unloaded. Does that make sense? Just thinking about unit tests. That throw is headache inducing. Yeah, but that's why I guess if you have if you have a good enough if you have enough detail in the code and also in the unit test, you can kind of it becomes it's hard to start off once you start getting some complexity, it just becomes much easier to add, to get like ideas about new coverage. So I think the issue I think the issue might be maybe it's getting the signal late, so this becomes pending. Then it's unloaded, so it doesn't expect a pending signal, but the signal came after, probably because it's oh, I guess I should also have there's lots of potential for race conditions. More fun to just be lazy. I mean, when it comes to unit tests, I think unit tests are always good to have, but sometimes it's it can be a lot of work. It can just take a lot of time to write them. Sometimes if your functionality is well, I don't know. Sometimes simple functionality can be hard to test. It's all a cost benefit analysis of how much time you have to work on something, and especially if you're working for a company. Usually developers want to write the unit tests, but time constraints and pressure from management will not allow you to. Let me think. The next thing. guess this thing should know. Bless you. Thank you. So when I add this work item, change the regions. There's no guarantee that this is processed. So if it sees something it's not supposed to at that time, that I don't know, maybe I'll have to add another method into this to synchronize the thread, or to in that in memory chunks thread. Yeah, I'll delete that. Have a good night. Yeah, I'll probably call it a night as well. Let's give it one more test. All right, well, I think I'm figuring out how to break this problem down. I'll probably just have like one. I need still some more synchronization to make sure I'm expecting the right thing at the right time. And I'll probably just have one separate method to do each of the different things. So one method to check for the pending chunks, one to simulate some loading progress, you come on at 10 EST every night. Yeah, I've been pretty consistent for quite a while now. The time changed yesterday, though. Although it's confusing because I think in BC they got rid of time change. I didn't really even pay attention to it. I just go by whatever's on my clock. And I better notice yesterday the time seemed to have been off. I'll be on same time tomorrow night for day 219. Keeping the time as is. Yeah, here it changed, I'm pretty sure. But all right, that'll be it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night. And thank you to the super chatter.